Mute us. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start maybe in another 2 minutes. There's still people joining, so.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
while I got you before you start the meeting, can we look at Joe and Bill? I think the light signalization at Corner Powers and North Ave is not cycling to a walk signal. So people that are trying to cross North Ave there are looking at long waits.
Yep, that's a mass dot signal, Steve.
Yeah.
So
Can you check
yeah,
it out? Great. And maybe we should consider quickly one of those pedestrian things that we have. We can talk offline about that. But I am getting a lot of inquiries about that. Okay.
So what, I'm sorry, what were you saying for the?
I know one of those light up pedestrian things over there, you know, that are push buttons.
Yeah, so we have a plan, just so you're aware. So Matt Stott's looking to change that whole thing.
I know. Let's talk offline because I'm getting some inquiries. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds good.
And I just got one right now, so it's perfect to jump in right before.
All right, everyone. Well, good morning. This is the June 23, 2023 Traffic Advisory Committee meeting for the town of Wakefield. The meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be posted to the town's website and various other sites. I'd ask that everybody remain muted during the meeting unless you're called to speak, as closed captioning is enabled and it's an automatic transcription. So to assist with that process, if we could remain muted, that would be a big help. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 8:34 a.m. Attendance, I have Steve Mayo, I have Bill Renault, I have Matt Keeley, I have myself, Joe Anderson, Traffic Advisory Chair, I have Dan Benjamin, I have Lois Benjamin, I have John Connors, and I have Joe Conway. Item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance. Dan, if you could unmute and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we would appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Item number 4 is public engagement. So I would ask any member of the public that has something for traffic advisory that isn't an agenda item, if you could raise your hand and I will invite you to speak. We'll give you 3 minutes to address the committee. If it is related to an agenda item, though, if I could ask that you wait for that agenda item to come up, and there will be time for engagement during that time. We'll start with Brian Noyes, if you could unmute and join us. How you doing?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brian Noyes, 36 Old Nahant. Lieutenant Anderson, this is a follow-up to concern I had shared over, I think, maybe the last 6 months to a year about kind of the adherence to the stop sign at Oak Street and also just overall speeding in like I'll call it the Old Nahant, Oak Street, Farm Street area. I think with the warmer weather particularly, you know, we've just seen an increase in both car and motorcycle traffic that, you know, is, you know, not obeying the speed laws. But I think during the pandemic, my office overlooks the stop sign at Oak. And in both directions, there's just zero adherence to it. Just people flying right through it, going towards Saugus and towards the high school. And again, I have a kid and I know there's numerous children in the area. So I just want to make sure we're kind of addressing that and see what the town could do to, kind of either patrol, put details, traffic calming measures, whatever, options are kind of available here.
I appreciate that, and I apologize for not following up with you. So, when we last spoke, that we had received the police department some flashing stop signs, and I said that we would look into getting those out there. I talked to our town engineer, Bill Renault, who's on, and he didn't really recommend the flashing stop sign route. He had some ideas, and I'll let him speak if you'd like to, but some ideas about kind of teeing off that intersection better to create a better condition to kind of encourage people to stop there more naturally. And I ended up having to put those stop signs at Chestnut and Prospect, as we had a couple of bad crashes there, and they weren't, when we received those stop signs, they weren't as portable as they claimed that they would be. So they're more like semi-permanent. The DPW is great in assisting us with our signage in town, but they have to be they have to have TIG safe come out. They have to use concrete to mount them. So there's a lot more involved. I'd hope to move them there for you, but between talking to Bill, our town engineer, and then having another major intersection in town that had a documented crash history, they had to go there. He has some other recommendations and some ideas there. To speak to the speeding issue, it's a street that we've consistently tried to address when staffing levels allow with directed patrols there. We've done some studies with traffic advisory on the speed conditions there, crosswalk locations, some traffic calming ideas that we've kicked around, and one of the more recent past. One of the traffic calming measures that we tried to employ, but it was unsuccessful, was the speed alert signs to educate to what their speed is. Unfortunately, since it's a kind of cut through street to the high school and the vocational school, the complaints that we were getting from that response was that the students at the beginning and the end of the school day was that they were trying to race the speed signs. So it kind of had the opposite effect. So I actually had to shut them off, and then we ended up moving them because it was encouraging kids to race the speed sign. So that unfortunately didn't have the traffic calming effect that we had hoped for, right? It seems like when we are there for, kind of like with any road with a speeding issue, when we're there, people fall into compliance. As soon as we leave, they're back at it, within pretty short order. So, Bill, do you have any updates on that area? I know we've done a lot of studies between Maple Way, Oak, the 5-way there, and then some crosswalk, kind of improvements there. But anything as far as that stop sign?
So yeah, I think besides what you mentioned about teeing up the intersection, we also have plans at Green and Oak to kind of change that whole intersection configuration as well. So there'll be a 3-way stop there that's getting reconfigured through hopefully a grant that we're going to be going after this year. On Farm Street, the traffic coming.
I'm on the other end, so that's where I'm like Old Nahant and Farm. I know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just trying to say about the whole area. So we've looked at that. We've looked at the Greenwood neighborhood too, and found no speeding there. Further down on Oak, we did a speed study within the last couple of months, like kind of by Melrose Ave for a sidewalk request, and found that it's about somewhere in the 15 to 17 mile an hour range over the posted speed limit. So there definitely is an area that we need to address. On the Nahant side and on Nahant Street specifically, we're looking at installing 2 roundabouts, one at the end of the Tech driveway, the new driveway for the Metro Tech, that'll help with traffic calming. And then you're going to hear a little later in the agenda from the folks at the high school about realigning Hemlock Road and throwing in another roundabout there. So both of those will have a big traffic calming effect on Nahant. So we are working in the area to look at this, and we've heard a ton of requests. So We have projects in the queue to address these things.
Can you maybe
On
speak-
Oak Street specifically,
Yeah.
that's a little bit more challenging because we have a pretty tight right of way, and how we would be able to implement some traffic calming ideas, but we're definitely looking at it and we'll come up with some solutions for it.
Could you maybe speak briefly about the improvements to that intersection of Old Nahat and Oak? You were talking about the radius there.
Yeah, so that's a tight, it's kind of a wide, kind of a wide opening. So we're looking to kind of tee that up more. So, you know, the funky driveway on the corner that is basically in the intersection is getting, we've worked with those residents to kind of narrow their opening, and they're on board with us doing that because they've had a couple of accidents where folks have actually gone through it and crashed into their wall. So, so we're looking at teeing that intersection up and making it more, you know, tighter radiuses, so folks will actually, you know, it'll look like a spot where you need to stop. So that's planned for our current sidewalk bid that we're designing, and that'll be out to bid next month. So, so you'll see some improvements there as well. And then the stuff on the hunt, like we were talking about, we're going to be doing those projects and finalizing design over the next year. So.
Okay. Has there ever been a discussion of turning that into a three-way stop? So stopping Old Nahat traffic at that intersection? As part
We do have it on one way, right? Isn't there a stop sign? I believe
well,
there's
it's
a stop sign.
down Oak, but
Yeah,
you know,
the
I'm just
one
saying.
going down. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that as an option. So let me take a look into that too.
Okay,
I mean,
and
you know,
just to share, my concern that I shared with Lieutenant Anderson is that when I'm driving from the high school to my house, there's been numerous incidents where my car has almost gotten T-boned by cars rolling that stop sign. And my daughter's car seat is on that side. So it's really, you know, an issue to me where cars are just, again, coming into the intersection and almost hit me. So, you know, that's where, again, that's where I'm coming from on that.
Okay, yeah, let me take a look at that.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for joining us today. And Bill, maybe we'll talk a little bit more offline about any enhancements we may be able to do to signage there, like, you know, stop ahead, things like that. Matt,
Yeah. No, we were looking at that too. So, yeah.
Matt Keelan.
Yeah, just one question. It seems just from Google Street View that if you're on Oak Street and you're looking to the south, there's some overhanging branches that obstruct sight distance. So that might be one of the causes of people rolling through the stop line, because you can't see once you're coming down Oak. So I think people probably just roll through it until they can see. So if there's just some low branches there that could be trimmed, that could help a little bit.
Cool.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Anybody else for public engagement? And again, anything that's not an agenda item, because we want to save that for the agenda. All right, last call for public engagement before we move on to item number 5. Okay, item number 5, approval of the meeting minutes from the February 10th, 2023 meeting. Make a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All right, the meeting minutes from February 10th, 2023 have been approved. Thank you. Item number 6, this is old business, a stop sign request update. I'm going to invite Bill Renault, our town engineer, to go over some of his findings. Pleasant Street and Salem Street, the intersection there. We had some requests from residents to review that intersection after some recent crashes and a crash history that's spanned several years. We being traffic advisory has looked at this intersection in the past, and we've had more recent crashes that have caused us to take another closer look at it in more recent times. So Bill, what do you have there for us?
Yep. So basically, with the repaving of Pleasant Street, we have looked to install an additional set of stop bars on the northern side of the intersection. So we went out in May to evaluate sight distance at the area if you're sitting at the stop bar, and you'll see from the diagram, basically all 4 legs of this do not meet the intersection sight distance requirement of 335 feet for a 30-mile-an-hour zone. Stopping sight distance in 3 legs aren't met as well. So from my perspective, I can't see how this doesn't warrant a stop sign, 4-way stop to be installed. So That would be my recommendation to the TAC to have those installed and fast track that within the next month or so, as soon as we get town council approval.
Great. Matt, do you have any comments on this intersection?
No, I agree with Bill with the site distance restrictions. A four-way stop, I think, is the appropriate treatment.
I would agree. My only concern is going to be Salem Street heading northbound during the winter months. Some cars may be sliding back from that stop sign there, but I think it's I would rather, if there's going to be any type of accident there, rather have a fender bender there with a car sliding back into into stop traffic than somebody disregarding the stop sign at Pleasant Street and causing a significant crash. I mean, in looking at the crash history, unfortunately, a lot of the crashes occur when people don't stop for the stop sign on Pleasant Street, and it's tough to. It's there's an existing stop sign there, and we're looking at adding more. So, the argument is if traffic's already stopped on the other end and it's more of a right of way, who's going first issue. The inevitable crash, if it's going to happen, would be at a much slower speed and wouldn't be as significant if there's going to be a crash there at all. So I would.
So for Salem Street heading northbound, do you think we should consider using some warning signage, like a stop ahead, just in case?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I thought that'd be. I think both the east and west approach on Salem would make sense to do that. So.
Yep. I think since this is a potential new four-way intersection, it's a very heavily traveled intersection, and for generations there hasn't been a stop sign there. We're going to have to do some education and outreach, and I would like to look into possibly adding flashing stop signs there for a short period of time to just kind of hit the point home that there is a new stop sign there. So we can talk offline a little bit about that, if there's any funding for that, or if there's any other any options to just make sure that people that have kind of blindly traveled through that intersection for generations make sure that they know that there is a stop sign there that wasn't there before. So whether that's a stop sign ahead or flashing stop signs or what have you, I think there should be something there to kind of alert drivers that that intersection has changed. Dan and Lois, do you have anything for us?
Is that that's on the bus route, isn't it? That's where the left lane, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bus stop right at that intersection, actually.
Anybody else from Traffic Advisory have any comments or suggestions? I'd like to invite Kathleen. She was one of several residents that reached out to us. Kathleen, do you have any comments or suggestions?
No, I mean, we're delighted to hear this. This is exactly what we asked for, 5 years ago. And of course, it'll take people a while to get used to it. And I would hope they'd get tickets when they don't, but this is just the right thing. The only other thing that I had mentioned before is that in this intersection, the street light is on one side of the intersection and the crosswalk is on the other side. Mm-hmm. So at a point when Salem Street is maybe being worked on, or somewhere along the line, it would seem to me that would make sense to move the crosswalk, because that's just paint, to the side under the light.
Yep. Yeah, I think what we would do is we would actually have crosswalks on both sides if it's a four-way.
That would be that's a great idea, because I have almost been hit in the dark in that crosswalk. Mm-hmm. And kids use it, kids on bicycles use it. It's that's not maybe as much of an issue because it's a nighttime issue, but that would also be frosting on the cake. But I'm so pleased to hear about the stop signs. Thank you.
Yep. So I think that we could look to add the light or move the light depending on what makes more sense. But we would do that when we pave the other half of Prospect. So
surely paint is easier.
That it is. Yeah.
Cheaper too.
So thanks. This is just what we've asked for. Excellent.
Any other comment on this agenda item before we make a motion? So just so everybody knows, this is just one hurdle to overcome with anything regulatory. It has to also pass town council at another public meeting. But if we do make a motion today, that would be the first step. So seeing no other comment, do I hear a motion for this agenda item?
Motion to install four-way stop at Pleasant and Salem Street intersection.
Second.
Second by Matt Keeley, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much. Kathleen, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, school zone expansion and enhancements. Our town engineer, Bill Renault, is going to present some proposed enhancements to an expansion of our current school zones. This is something that we've talked about more recently at traffic advisory, and Bill's been working on this for quite a bit now. So I'll turn it over to Bill.
Yeah, so thanks, Joe. So this one's kind of a quick one. So back in 2022, MassDOT amended the Massachusetts amendments to the MUTCD. What that does is actually allows for a longer length of school zones within the Commonwealth. So school zones can actually, is a speed regulation that can actually be adopted at the local level, where all other speed limits are required to go through MassDOT approval. So what we did is we evaluated each of the schools within the town to see where we could expand these school zones to meet the new requirements in the 2022 amendments. Here's a couple of examples of what we've seen. So you can see on North Ave the length of of what we have for school zones. If we jump down to some of the other ones, we just go through a couple of them. So if we look to at the Greenwood School, there was a section that wasn't there, and a section that was much shorter. So we're going to incorporate those. And then we also have, I think I have a third one as well. And then here's Gould Street that only had it on one side. So we're going to do this for all the intersections throughout town. I would recommend that we look to approve the modifications to the school zones throughout town as presented.
And Bill, that would include the, do you have an image of the enhanced signage there? Because something else that's come up over the last few meetings that we've had is that, the signage is inconsistent. Some signage may be missing. And
yeah. And so basically these plans highlight all of that. So anything that is not supposed to be there, we're adding in. They've also added some school zone ahead, warning signage that should be installed, and then an end of school zone sign. So all of these would be consistent with that. So we would just, either move the sign to the correct location if something's out there, or we would just incorporate the new stuff and the new assemblies as recommended in the MUTCD.
Okay, any comments or questions from members of traffic advisory on the school zone enhancements?
Lieutenant,
Yes, Dan.
why wouldn't you consider extending that on North Avenue from Armory Street to Albion Street, seeing you have two crossing guards right within 100 feet of each other there? And wouldn't that be in a school zone?
So the school zone extends, I believe it's 300 feet from the edge of the property. So it's not just basically as long, as you want, wherever the cross guard is. That's not how it works. So we went to the limits of and maximize as far as we can go. So that's why we're doing it.
Okay.
No, it's a good point. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Any other comments or questions from traffic advisory? Any public comment on this agenda item? Last call for public comment on agenda item number 7. All right, do I hear a motion on agenda item number 7?
I'll make a motion to install new school zone assemblies consistent with the 2022 Mass DOT MUTCD amendments.
Second.
Second by Matt Keeley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Bill, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Moving on to item number 8, the Wakefield Memorial High School Development Team is going to present some of their designs and traffic plans for the new high school. We've been working quite a bit with them over multiple meetings in some working groups to try to identify, what some good options would be for that development. So I'll invite Aaron. Would you like to start? And if you need to share your screen, just let me know. I'll make you a co-host.
I would love to introduce Stephen Saragusa from BSC. It's really his show today, but we are before you, like you said, to discuss plans for the roundabout at the new Wakefield Memorial High School. I believe this is our third formal meeting with you. As Lieutenant Anderson said, we've had various working groups to discuss various aspects of the project and much to do with all types of circulation. So with that, I think Stephen is going to start with the design update of the.
And Stephen, before you start, I just want to say publicly that Aaron, you and your team, you've been excellent to work with. We've really had a lot of great conversation, and anything that we've asked you to consider or look at, your team's been fantastic with getting us the information that we need, and not being shy about looking into really anything that we've had concerns about or wanted to see options on. So that's not always the case when we're working through some developments in town. Sometimes we have some challenges, and I just want to say thank you to your group. It's been a pleasure working with you so far.
Thank you for those words. It's been a pleasure as well. I think that we'll have a great project if we work collaboratively. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Steve Saragusa. I'm with BSC Group, working with Erin and her team over at SMMA to do the roundabout at the intersection of Farm Street, Nahant, and Hemlock Road, which Hemlock Road will also be realigning. Lieutenant Anderson, if I can share my screen. I don't know if you need to make me a co-host.
I think you should be able to.
Okay. I just want to, I know that some of you have seen the plan. I just have a couple of screens to show. So this is the general layout of the new roundabout. So you have Farm Street along here. This is Nahant, and Hemlock Road is here. So currently the intersection is quite an offset intersection. So Hemlock Road comes up into Farm Street here, and Nahant hits Farm Street approximately, I'd say 50 to 100 feet north of that. So anybody who's been out there in the morning and or afternoon can understand how much of a bottleneck that causes, confusion, especially with all the new drivers and everything like that. So the original plan as part of the TIAS that GM2 had submitted had a roundabout at this location. However, they had a second lane on this Farm Street southbound approach and a second circulating lane on the west side of this roundabout here for all left turners. We have reduced that to everything being a single lane approach. It condenses the footprint of the roundabout, gives us a little more space on site for all those amenities, including the track, which I know was something we had worked closely with SMMA on. And we reran the analysis in VISM, which I know was a request of Matt and his team over at VHB, who were kind of, I believe, did the initial review of GM2's report. And so we reviewed that, we did some analysis, and we got some queue lengths, which kind of show on this next slide, and apologies if it's a little tough to see. I'll zoom in and out as needed. I thought this would show up a little bit clearer than it did. But essentially, the queue lengths that you see in red along these approaches are what was observed. So we were out there observing traffic during school drop-off, during school pickup. And so these are observed. These aren't from an analysis or from any software. These are what we saw while we were out there. And the biggest queue that we saw was along Farm Street here on the southbound approach, which basically backs up all the way to the Water Street intersection and potentially even onto Water Street. We weren't able to see that far down. And then the blue is the original site circulation. So quick backstory on the original site circulation. So originally, this new Farm Street entrance was going to be a two-way entrance, allowing both right turn vehicles and left turn vehicles out of the site. And then this new Hemlock, and I apologize for not having this here. Oh, it's right here in gray. And this new Hemlock driveway was going to be an entrance only, so no exiting vehicles. So that is what that original site circulation entailed. So it shortens the queue length along Farm Street here, and shortens the queue length along every other approach as well. The green, since that time when we had our working group meetings, one of the big discussions was making this driveway here a right turn out only, so not allowing left turning vehicles. And a big part of that was the conflicts that would create with the left turning vehicles in and then left turning vehicles out. So this is now going to be, you can make a left turn in or right turn in, but only a right turn out. And this Hemlock Road driveway will now be two-way. You can make left and right turns in, and it will be an exit coming back into the roundabout. So that was a big part, was getting people to the roundabout, which is the reason for having the roundabout in the first place, was to utilize it for circulation. So with that, it does shorten the queue length again along Farm Street, which I know was one of the more major concerns in the AM, was this queue length along Farm Street southbound. So it shortens the queue length there, and it does slightly shorten some of the queue lengths, or it's about the same along the Nahant. It does lengthen it along Hemlock, which is what you would assume, because now more vehicles are going to be entering or exiting out onto Hemlock. Third, I'll just run through this quickly. Matt and I had a little bit of a back and forth yesterday about some of the volumes. I was in a mad dash, and I apologize, Matt, for missing some of the things you had pointed out for submission yesterday of our DD set. So I said I would kind of put together this graphic, which shows a little bit of an updated traffic trip distribution based on kind of what we determined here with this on-site circulation. So as you can see, nobody will be making a left turn out of the site driveway anymore in the morning. And all those vehicles would be coming out onto Hemlock, and then everything else has been adjusted accordingly. And same in the PM as well. So I will stop there. Can I answer any other questions? I know that was a lot of talking, so I apologize, but any questions that anybody has?
Stephen, I was wondering if you could actually just talk a little bit about why we're focused on the peak AM, why that is what we're studying right now.
Excuse me. Absolutely. So the AM is where a bulk of the traffic will be entering the site and causes the biggest queue length, and where the most queue was along Farm Street. So that's why our analysis was focused mostly on the AM. We did run the PM analysis, and there was some reduction in queue lengths along Farm Street during the PM, but the biggest impact is during the AM peak hour, where the drop off happens, where most of the trips occurred was during the AM.
Okay, Aaron, do you have anybody else to present, or can we open up the discussion with our TAC members?
Oh, please, let's discuss.
Okay, Bill, we'll start with you. Any comments?
Speaking on mute, that's good. So Aaron, the only other thing I think we were talking about was kind of how we are going to get folks back to Farm Street. So, you know, it's good that we're planning it to be this way, but I think we still have some logistics to work out on that side. I don't know if it's really TAC worthy because it's not going to have any regulatory changes, but just something as we're moving forward with the design that we're going to have to finalize.
Sure.
Okay. But besides that, I'm good. I think this is great. Thank you for addressing the majority of our comments at the last meeting. I think this covers all the big ticket items that were the most critical for the TAC and probably for the town council to approve.
Matt?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First off, thank you for doing the VISM analysis. I appreciate that. I know it's not the easiest program to work with, and it's very time consuming to calibrate and things like that. So I appreciate you submitting this. Couple of things we talked about yesterday, Stephen. Thanks for making those tweaks to the volumes. I just wanted to try and, you know, get the sort of final numbers of what's going to be circulating through that roundabout, just to so we can get the most accurate queue links possible. So I think were you going to just revise that and send those queue links over with those volumes, or is that were those the numbers on the graphic right now?
So these are the numbers. Well, at least the volume numbers.
Yeah.
And like I kind of mentioned, and I could mention it again now for everybody. I think the queue lengths themselves won't change too much if we reran the analysis, just because the same amount of trips are going to be going along each approach. It's just where they're going with everything being a single lane. You know, if there were multiple lanes at the roundabout or each approach, yes, that would definitely change the queue lengths, but I can't imagine the queue lengths will change all that much by rerunning the analysis with just different, you know, left turn versus through or whatever it might be.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would just like to see that just to sort of close that loop.
Okay.
Dan and Lois, anything for us?
Not being a traffic engineer, more of a country preacher, but did they take any estimate of the new Volk School, the amount of traffic that's going to be generated from there onto what we already have down there now? In other words, both, because that's 2 or 3 years out, but have that been, you know, calculated into the estimates?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then keep in mind too that they're going to have a new driveway that will be the primary access. So they're eliminating a lot of the traffic on Hemlock, and we're actually looking at another roundabout up there. So, so that will hope to, you know, calm traffic coming through this whole stretch.
Yeah, Dan, both traffic studies went through that in painstaking detail.
Okay.
They've incorporated each other into their designs.
I'm just thinking a 50% increase in students at the Volk School. That's an awful lot of cars coming, even though they're going out the other driveway.
Yeah.
Still gonna add to.
Yeah, the new driveway for the Volk School is a good diversion of traffic.
Steve Mayo, Joe Conway, anybody else from Traffic Advisory?
No, I thank you for all the hard work by Left Field and SMMA on this. I have just one question. Was and I'm sure the answer is yes. How involved was the actual high school administration and the school department in this?
Steve, I'll say we've met with the site working group a number of times from the beginning of the project to engage in any number of site design issues. We've met specifically with Superintendent Lyons and Amy McLeod, the principal, to talk about internal circulation and how internal circulation and roadway circulation needs to really be paired to reduce queue lengths, provide safer access and all of the things. So I would say quite a bit.
Great, because the interior circulation is a big part of this, and it's not on the public ways, so it gets a little dicey. But great, thank you very much.
Yep.
Joe Conway.
I think everything I would have has already been covered.
Awesome. John Connors, anything for us, John?
I am all set. My only question was if it hasn't been covered, the changes when the high school is moved back to its new position. where the main entrance, will that be off of Hemlock?
Steve, do you want to go back to the drawing there? And actually, if you could show the circulation, the on-site circulation would be good too. I think you had something on that. That may be helpful.
Aaron has the I don't have the on-site circular. If you want to see that,
Yeah.
that might be better.
Yeah, and that would show the entrances too. That'd be great.
So we prepared a series of internal circulation diagrams that really confirm what Stephen talked about as far as how traffic will be allowed to turn specifically out of Farm Street. So straight back up. This is the morning. So this is meant to describe really a two-way access off Hemlock Road. You see that, Mr. Connors, it's a two-way new driveway off the relocated Hemlock Road over on the left side of the page. That's to the south. And then we have kind of a realigned curb cut along Farm Street that will allow traffic to enter the site. And as Stephen described, during those peak hours, the morning and the afternoon, it will really only allow right turns off of the site.
So that's going to be changed in the near term, and then it's going to continue on with the new school.
I would say that these new driveways are going to be installed and really will be used as designed at the end of the project. So in after the 3 years of construction, once the new school is built and the old school is demolished and the new Beasley Ovals is built.
Right. All right, thank you.
No problem.
So Bill, at this point, are we comfortable to prepare a memo, or do you still have some outstanding issues on your end?
I think we're close. I mean, the only thing is the detail of how the circulation on site will go. I mean, I'm happy to leave it up to the TAC here on how we want to go forward. I mean, it's some small items. Nothing's going to be regular. Well, actually, we'll have some on-site regulatory signs. So I don't know, Aaron, what makes sense on your end? I mean, we can approve at least the roundabout component of it maybe. And then I don't know if we want to, once you finalize everything, come back with that specifically. Is it?
Are the
is that-
regulatory, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
are the
No,
regulatory
no.
signs, like the internal signage that clarifies and directs circulation, is that also going to be reviewed and approved by this
Well,
group?
depending on how you're doing it, yes, right? 'Cause
Okay.
if we're putting stop signs in or,
Yep.
you know, left turn, like all that, those are regulatory, right? So that would come back here. So I would say maybe we just approve the roundabout as presented today, and then they can come back once the internal circulation is finalized.
And we
just-
have that signage on the plan. So right now we're not quite at that level of detail,
Yeah.
but it will be soon. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. If we do that, I mean, I'd be happy with it. We can have the working group again, kind of with Joe, myself, and Matt, meet with you folks to go over it and work it out.
that sounds great.
Okay.
What would the time schedule on the rotary be? How long would it take to do it? Be done?
Our construction manager is not on this call, and I don't know if that's something that you can speak to. I think generally where the construction of the roadway work is slated for certainly to try and take advantage of the summer months when the traffic is the lowest. But towards the end of the project, the initial phase of the project will be so much focused on building the building.
Right.
And that is the priority.
I'm pretty sure at the last working group meeting, he mentioned that it would be done in the summer of 28, I believe, is what I heard. Does that sound right? Or is that too late? Or summer of 26? One of the two.
I think it's 27. I don't want to misspeak.
27?
though.
27.
Yeah.
But I
There
also,
you go. Put her in the middle.
we also hired a consultant construction expert consulting, which is a roadway consultant, to help us minimize the amount of time that the construction takes and to work through those logistics. So we're still working on that, but I think Aaron's right. I think it's more the 2027 timeframe.
Okay, excellent. Any public comment on this agenda item? Last call for public comment on this agenda item. Erin, do you have anything else for us? Or are we good for right now?
Today, no, this is it.
Okay, excellent. So, Billy, if you want to prepare a memo for them on the roundabout, and then I think it makes sense to package everything up for regulatory next meeting with them.
Yep, so I'll make a motion to approve the roundabout layout as presented.
Second. Matt, you have it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, Erin, Stephen, thank you again. Thank you to your team. Excellent work. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have
Yeah,
a great
thank
weekend.
you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 9, 460 to 462 and 472 Main Street, a new development. We have attorney Brian McGrill here to present that development, traffic impact assessment, and site plan review for a proposed multifamily and mixed-use development. Brian, good morning.
Morning, Lieutenant, members of the committee. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail representing the owner of the property at 460 to 472 Main Street in Wakefield, and the proposed redevelopment of that property, which we'll get into some detail as we move forward through our presentation. With me today is Peter Sandors and Steve DeFurier of Phoenix Architects, and also Scott Thornton of Vanessa and Associates, who is our traffic consultant on the project. This project involves, as I mentioned, 460 to 472 Main Street. I think it's well known to the members of the Traffic Advisory Committee as the Molise building on Main Street. We're in the process of redeveloping that property. And I think it's kind of exciting for the town. I know it's been a long-awaited project that we're proposing, and I think it will be well received by the community. If you can hang on 1 second, Lieutenant, I'm just going to shut my door. I've got some background noise here.
Sure, not a problem.
You're on mute.
Thank you. I think the best way to start is to bring up the site plan that is currently before the Board of Appeals, to go through that and give the Traffic Advisory Committee an idea of how the property lays out with access and parking. And then I'm going to hand it over to Steve DeFurier to talk a little bit about how the architectural design of this building will work on the site. And as far as that kind of relates to the parking into the traffic flow. So. Okay, so this is, I guess, a good place to start is the existing conditions. Let me just blow this up a little bit. Is that big enough?
As large as you can make it, because Lois has low vision, so.
Okay, let me know, Dan. I want to keep
Okay.
it. Is that better?
Good.
Does that work, Dan?
Looks good.
Okay, great. Better if I can rotate this. There we go. It's easy to look at it this way. So basically, this is the building. It's kind of a mishmash. You've got some warehouse storage in the back. This is Main Street in the front. You've got some retail. You've got some warehousing and storage up top. So it's a real mishmash of what's going on here. And there's currently a 12-foot wide access drive that leads back to the warehouse and also leads back to this property, which is, it's really not practical access for 27 Water because it's kind of blocked by a wall that they built. But in any event, it is a 12-foot right of way. So these are the existing conditions. And what we are proposing So as Steve will talk about a little bit, where you can see, so this is now the front of the building. So what's being proposed, and it will show much better when Steve presents the architectural plans, but what we've actually done here is we're taking a portion of the building off. So we're going to demolish a portion of this building where the 12-foot right of way is, so we can expand this to a 20-foot wide curb cut. It's going to give more room to the property. And what we're also proposing is you can see the back where is an entrance, and Steve will show this in a little bit more detail. That we're proposing to put parking underneath in the back. So the project, once it's done, will consist of 16 residential units up on a second story and a partial third story in the rear. And it will also include up to 6 retail units in the front of the building. Might be less than that because we might do a combination depending on what is called for by possible tenants, et cetera. So it might be actually a combination of uses in the front. So the 6 could turn into 4, for example, or could turn into 5, or a combination of those up to 6. I also want to mention that we actually had a site visit with Bill Renault and Rick Salvo from Engineering Alliance, our engineering firm on this site civil, because we want to make sure that we're going to make this development in sync with the envisioned Wakefield on what's going to happen downtown with the changes in the parking. And I think one of the things that we might need to talk about here, I don't know where that envision is going to stop. So I don't know if this will require a right-hand turn only, if there's going to be a medium when you come out here or not, or if you will be able to take a left turn here and head to Melrose. So I think that might be one of the discussion points as we move forward. So with that said, if I may, Mr. Chair, I'd like to hand it over to Steve to do a presentation on the architecture.
Sure, sounds good.
Right. Can you force quit my screen, Lieutenant? Because somehow I froze here and I can't exit from the stop share.
I will try.
I don't know if my mouse died.
Brian, I'm actually going to present today. This is Peter.
Pete, can you force me out?
Let me see. This will stop share screening. I'm going to continue. I'll try, see if that works.
Knock me out.
Maybe if I share.
You did it. Yep.
Does that work?
Yep.
You can see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm on the same Main Street first floor level that Brian was showing in the civil drawings. I think what we're trying to do is to use what is now an alley and make it more of an entrance to the building. So even though we'll have traffic going in and out to the underground parking that we're going to carve in the back, we're taking the center area and turning it into a courtyard with plantings and doing a pretty substantial entrance there with a lot of glass. This actually works for access now to the residential area above or through a corridor to the main entrance of the building on Main Street. So even though the building has a formal entrance on Main, we're assuming this will be the main entrance to the building for the owners and people who live here. If the retail wants, we are going to be open to the idea that the retail may bleed out into this courtyard as well. Thinking of like dining and things like that, if this becomes an eating establishment. As Brian said, we're not sure yet, but allowing for 6 and knowing that we can adjust accordingly. I know there's been a lot of questioning about how we're doing the residential, and basically what we're doing is taking the whole second level of the building as it exists now and putting in 16 residential units, combos between 1 and 2 bedrooms. In the back left-hand corner, there's enough space to make those 4 units 2-story. So the main living area is on the second floor, and you go upstairs within the units to the bedrooms. That's the only section of the building that's 3-story, and it sits up against the parking garage that exists at 27 Water Street, way in the back. It also allowed us an area on this level, create an outside amenity for the residents. So there's a pretty substantial courtyard on the second level as well. On Main Street itself, that's where these bayed apartments are being proposed. And again, the height of that building isn't changing. It is what it is now. And I think that's kind of unique. I know a lot of development is pushing up, and we don't need to get our counts in the height that we have. I think probably because that was warehouse space, it was so large. Here's a rendering of the front of the building, and it shows that creating an entrance, shows the bays, shows the height of the building. This is actually the top of the 3rd story in the back. You really can't see it in the front. And way in the distance is the 27 Water Street behind us. Let's see. Show a second. But I think most importantly, I'm going to jump back to the ground level again, is that we're taking that whole 1st floor level of the existing building, carving it out so that we can get parking underneath and inside. It also allows me the courtyard. It allows me ramp access. So the building is fully handicap accessible. And again, this rear lobby allows access both retail and the residential units. That's the architecture in a nutshell.
Pete, do you have the renderings kind of, I think at the bottom, it kind of shows the streetscape?
Yep. I know we've kind of been jumping around a bit with renderings. We showed this one, oh, you know, I'm glad you brought, this is kind of,
That's what I want to show. I want to show the renderings.
so here's a look down Main Street, coming from the south, going into downtown. We place the building in context. This is Sweet Bay, and then looking down towards the hardware store with the armory on the left. This is being in downtown, looking back, seeing the building again in context with the building surrounding. I think you'll agree that it contextually and also size-wise fits perfectly in there. We've been, as Brian was alluding to, debating some arches in the windows, some of the color schemes. We've had darker building, lighter building. I'm not sure we've come to a conclusion on that yet, Brian. I think
We're still working with the zoning board, so there's a night shot of the building. Peter, thank you. I think that gives I just wanted to give a flavor of the architectural design and how it's going to relate to Main Street. And I think it's also important to note that our design team, Peter and Rick Salvo, and our construction consultant, Scott Fitzpatrick, they've worked hard, and it's pretty unique that you have a building like this that's going to actually have 24 parking spaces in downtown Wakefield. So what we are having here is we meet the zoning requirement for the residential use with 2 extra parking spaces to spare. One of the forms of relief that we've asked for with the Board of Appeals, as is typical for the retail or restaurant or whatever use might go here, is that it won't require parking, as virtually is the case for all of downtown Wakefield. Residential component will have the minimum required parking spaces +2. So with that said, to keep this moving, Scott, can you take over on the traffic report and make a presentation in that regard?
Certainly. Thanks, Brian. I just have really just a one slide to get into.
Stop sharing if you could.
Okay, can you see that slide?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks. So, from a traffic perspective, there's, this project is, really has a minimal, traffic impact. We did reach out to, Bill Renault and to Matt Keeley to confirm the scope, the area, to be studied as part of the traffic study. Looked at the intersections of Water and West Water Street, Armory Street, and Richardson Street, and the Galvin Middle School driveway. We did counts out there last month, looking at the morning and the evening peak hour. We also, at the middle school driveway, we extended that count period and went from, started at 2 in the afternoon, went till 6. So we could see how the middle school traffic compares with the peak hour for the middle school traffic compares with the adjacent, the typical commuter peak. And we found that there was more traffic going in and out of the driveways or the driveway during the school dismissal period, but on an overall basis, there was more traffic at the intersection during the commuter peak hours. So that's what we used for analysis. In terms of the site location, it's about 500 feet from a couple bus stops on either side. The 137 bus stops at the Water Street and at the Richardson Street intersections. And then the commuter rail stop is about little over it's about a quarter mile or so from the site on North Ave. We did the traffic assessment and looking at future conditions, we had 4 or so background projects that were plugged in. When we add the project traffic, and again, I think we're looking at like 16 trips in the morning and 37 or so in the evening. No changes in level of service. All locations, the Water Street location operated at level service D. The Richardson Street and Galvin Middle School driveway operates with a lot of delay, but I think there's that's to be expected, and it's not a new instance. In terms of traffic increases on a percentage basis, we're looking at somewhere between 0.3 and 1.6%. As Brian indicated, there's the site provides plenty of provides adequate parking. I know there's some changes that are proposed with the Envision Wakefield project, some reconfiguration of the on-street parking in the area from angle to parallel. And I think we had obtained an updated plan of Envision Wakefield. I think in front of our site, there's a painted median that might be proposed, but I don't believe there's a raised device that's currently contemplated there. And I think in terms of the promoting the TDM or promoting the transit facilities to the area and taking advantage of the existing parking that'll be there. I think the project is a good addition and should really have a minimal impact on traffic in the area. That's all I have. I'll turn it back over to you, Brian.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Scott. And that kind of concludes our presentation, Lieutenant. We're obviously happy to answer any questions or entertain comments from the committee.
Okay, perfect. Bill, do you want to speak maybe to the parking changes with the Envision project and any points that you have?
Yeah, so let me pull up the plans. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so subject property is right here. So there actually is a proposed bump out that will cross over to the Civic Center in this location, painted median, like Scott had mentioned, and the sidewalks are being widened into the street. So, I mean, at this point, I don't know if it would make sense to just do the portion in front of this building. I think it's more of a, have them construct their portion, and then we can look to do this in the future as part of the TIP project. I wouldn't move it forward as part of the project, because it just, the alignment of the road would just be, it's just too much work, I think, for the area. So that's basically it in a nutshell. So from my perspective, I think the traffic's fine the way they're showing it, and I'm supportive of the project. I think the rendering looks tremendous compared to what's there today. So happy to discuss potentially maybe a payment in lieu of construction. I think that might make more sense, so we can look at reconstructing sidewalks in other locations around town, and kind of put it into more of a townwide mitigation fund, which may make more sense to do.
So Bill, if I can, Lieutenant?
Yep.
If you don't mind, I just want to get a clarification. So Bill,
Sure.
you're saying one of the options would be for us to construct the portion of Envision in front of our building right now?
I wouldn't recommend you do it. I think it's too much change, and
That's what
it
I
has
thought.
to flow with the rest of the, if you were to bump this out the I think it's like 3 or 4 feet, and then add the bump out, that would look, I think that would really mess up the roadway operation. And you'd have to kind of build all of this together to get the benefit of it. So.
Okay, so we would not do that. That's why you're talking a contribution in lieu of doing, so, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And then the second thing is, are we looking at possibly a right-hand turn only here coming out? Because I'm, where I think our driveway is where that yellow double line is, and it,
Yep.
we don't quite align with Armory Street. So I just wanted to know what we're dealing with that with Envision also.
I think that would make sense personally, for sure, to restrict it to right turns. I think right turns in, right turn out, honestly.
All right, Dan and Lois, do you have anything for us?
Is that building totally locked in the back? Could that any way go into the rail or trail?
No, it's all locked in, Dan.
Yeah, because it'd be a great selling point as far as residential and for business, if it could somehow get in with the rail or trail, bringing in customers.
Yeah, it doesn't have access. The 27 Water Street building's right behind us.
Matt Keeley, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, a couple of things. I did my typical review of the traffic study, and as usual from Scott and his team, the study is technically sound. I don't have any issues with any volumes or trip generation or the analysis. I'm in agreement with the study put forth by Scott. Just had a couple of questions, and they kind of tie into the Envision Wakefield stuff. In terms of site distance, Scott, you're showing everything is acceptable, but it's kind of hard to qualify it with vehicles that are parked on street. So did you take the site distance measurements from the edge of the parking, or is it were your measurements done without cars parked there?
Yeah, so we looked at it there happened to not be any cars there at the time, so we were pretty fortunate with that. And in terms of the requirements, we met I think it's posted for 20 out there, so it wasn't hard to meet the requirements.
Just a couple more things. So as far as access to the garage, is that going to be gated?
The garage, not the driveway on Main Street, but the garage will either have a door or be gated.
Okay, just because we're tight on the parking numbers, so you wouldn't want other people using that garage
No,
illegally. So
it'll be secured.
So it'll be secured for residents, and the retail will just be served by on-street parking.
Correct.
And then my last question. So just going back to what we were talking about with right in, right out. My concern with making that right in, right out is that it's just going to add traffic to West Water for people that want to go south. So I don't know if we would get complaints from residents about that. It's not a lot of traffic, but if we'd be sort of forcing all that traffic to use another street to go back south because they can't take a left. I just have a little bit of a concern about that. You have any thoughts on that, Bill? Or Joe?
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean, I'm definitely in favor of the right out, but
Yeah.
I'd be interested in seeing what Bill has to say about at least allowing the left in, but
Yeah, I mean, I think
Bill, can you bring up the envision plan again?
sure can.
That just helps, I think, for this discussion, because this is kind of an important aspect of this project. This is probably the biggest.
Right. So basically, it's this left-hand turn.
Yeah.
What we're talking about. Yes, to cross the double yellow. So we're thinking maybe install a skip there so they can get and take that left-hand turn in. I mean, it just queues, it ends up queuing back to the intersection. That would be
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that I had the same concern. I was thinking if you had the brake, you might be able to get some of that left turning traffic in there, not have them circulate through and come back up Main Street northbound. But at the same time, there's the potential for queuing back into Water Street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think you solved that because I mean you do have Armory Street here.
Yep.
So they would be able to come through here, take this left, and then take the right in. So
Yeah, true.
Not gonna work for emergency vehicles.
Well, I mean, I think you do whatever you want to do, right? I mean, it's painted, so you'd be able to get in there.
As long as we can drive over whatever you're putting there.
It's just paint.
Okay, well, that's all.
You can drive over the paint.
So when they construct the driveway, it's going to be wider than it's shown on here. So we're
Yeah.
probably going to lose one of those on-street spaces.
We talked to Bill about that, and we've got some topography issues that we need to work with him on too, on the grading.
what are we thinking? Allowing the left turn in or not?
I don't think so. I think that will cause a problem.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree with that. I was more referring to the left turn out.
Okay. All right.
If you can't take a left out, you're turning right and then turning left onto West Water.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. All right.
I mean, by not allowing the left-hand turn in, that's simply done by envision by extending that line, because you can't cross the line, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could adjust the paint if we think it's to allow that, allow that movement.
Okay, anybody else from traffic advisory? I think, Brian, my only question is on one of the images that you showed. It said that there were 22 spaces and 24 were required.
24 and 22 are required.
Okay, so I read that.
Let
Okay.
me just double check that, make sure I didn't read it wrong.
But as long as it meets the parking bylaw for residential, I'm completely fine with the retail end of it. That's pretty standard for really anything in the downtown area. There's not really much off-street parking. It's almost all on street. Yeah, there was another one that I saw, so this is covered there.
Yeah, it's 2 spaces
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks for pointing that out, Lieutenant. Yeah, I misrepresented that by mistake. There's 24 required, we have 22.
Okay, all right. Is there any way?
Well, the way we've dealt with that before, the makeup, and we've had discussions with the board on this, actually, the makeup of this is, and Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've already made one mistake today. We've got only 4 2-bedroom units. Does that make sense? Double check that
I think so.
on your architectural plans. You could just take a peek just to confirm that.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the retail end, but the residential end, I'd want to have meet the bylaw. If there's any way to squeeze in those 2 spots or.
Got it, Pete? You want me to bring it up? It's like on page 2 or of your sheets of your package.
Hold on one second, Brian, it's here. So, we have,
You got 12 one-bedroom studios and 4 2-bedroom. That's my recollection.
yes, here it is. So there are 2 studios and 10 one-bedrooms, 4 2-bedrooms.
So at least I was right on that one. Yeah, so what we, we'll see what we can do on that. I don't think we can fit any more parking there. But, we've got usually what the board will do is they'll condition it to limit it where we have 12 one-bedrooms, we can, put a limit on cars that would be within allowed pursuant to leases on the property. This is going to be a rental building.
Okay, I think my position for a memo to the ZBA would be to have it meet the bylaw, but if they were agreeable to some conditions to allow that to be the way it is, I think that's reasonable.
When we deal with these rehab projects in downtown, right in the heart of downtown,
It's tough.
in order to encourage these projects for the redevelopment, it helps if there's a little bit of flexibility on the parking.
Sure. No doubt. I think, obviously there is on the
Yeah,
retail.
I'm permitting a project in, some of the metro cities and closer to Boston, and they're actually giving density bonuses if you reduce parking. They don't want parking.
Right.
The theory is the more parking you have, the more cars people bring. But if they know out of the gate that they don't have a car, they plan accordingly. So it's kind of interesting that seems to be the trend. The closer you get to Boston, they don't want parking. They would have a project with no parking, which is really interesting.
And I do have to say on the overall traffic end, I like this what's proposed here, because what could go there potentially could have an impact on traffic, and I think that this is it's one of a handful that I've seen that given its space and size and what you have presented really won't have an impact on traffic like some other developments here potentially could. So like I said, I'm fine with the retail end, not having any available off-street parking. I'd like to see 24 spaces. I definitely hear what you're saying about the conditions, and I would, I think that if the ZBA is agreeable to that, I'd be fine with that also. If they could find some other way to condition that, or try to reduce the number of vehicles there. Outside of that, I really have no concerns. I think it's a good proposal. I like how it looks, even though it's not our focus here, traffic advisory, but I think it fits well, and it's probably the least amount of traffic and parking impact of anything that could potentially go there. So I think it's well done. Mr. Mayo.
Yeah, very, very quickly, thank you. I agree. I like the project a lot, and I do think the trend is going towards fewer parking spaces. And that's what we're seeing, really in the region wide, maybe nationwide. Brian, will you just impress upon, or if it comes up at the ZBA, the town will not be issuing any on-street parking permits for anybody at this address? Make that pretty clear to your to whoever the broker is that's renting the units, because in other projects that's happened before. They've come over looking for their parking permit, and the answer is no.
Okay.
For Main Street.
I think we can add that as a recommended condition, Steve.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
should.
Those from in the
I think we
letter.
typically do. Yeah.
Hear loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Will it be deeded parking spaces or?
They would be assigned spaces.
Right, and these are all rentals, right, Brian?
That's the plan. They can change, Steve. There's no requirement, but the initial plan is for it to be a rental building, correct?
I do think on the bus route and on the so close to the commuter rail, I think you will find many of those units will only have one car, if even that. So I think you're gonna, I think that'll be a good, I think you'll have extra spaces in there, frankly, but if the trend continues, so great. I like it a lot, would like it to be built before the 4th of July.
So we
Get out
won't
there
have
this weekend.
the background.
Exactly, Dan.
Any other comments or questions from members of traffic advisory?
Are we making a decision on right in, right out, or?
Bill, what are your thoughts on that? You want to do?
I think we should. If you want, I mean, there's two ways we can look at it. We can either, it's the left turn out. That's the big question, right? I mean, I can change paint. That's what's in the design.
A left turn out for the project, if it's possible, means a lot because, you know, I'm just thinking, you know, if someone's living there and they want to go to Melrose, it's just going to send unnecessary traffic downtown to that light. And people coming out that want to take a left aren't going to cause a queuing problem because they're going to be sitting in their own driveway trying to do that.
Yeah, I mean, so what's the group think? I mean, I think we just, as we're voting here, we're gonna include the no left turn in signage, right? That's what we would do. So, I mean, I'm pretty much indifferent. I mean, I think it's a good point.
Yeah, there's not enough traffic, I think, for it to be significant.
Okay. You in agreement, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, no left turn in is just tough to sign and enforce.
Right.
I mean, I'm not opposed to putting a sign up there, but if it's just going to be another sign on the sidewalk that people are ignoring.
Yeah, I would allow it both ways, and I just don't think there's enough.
Oh, I don't think that. I don't agree with that. I mean, you're looking at backing up and changing the operation of that intersection. That's a problem.
But how many cars are really taking that left in there at any given time?
It's not like everyone taking the left is going to queue back, because in Envision we only have one lane there.
Okay.
So it's a 12-foot lane. There's a 12-foot lane in the proposal, right? So let me just, I can pull it up, and it's a short length.
It's 6 in the morning and 15 in the evening.
Yeah, 15 in the evening.
Right, but I mean, I think if you're looking at how much that's going to back up, right? If they can't get through, this turns green, allows both folks to go, and you're waiting for this person to go. You easily can queue this, especially in AM and PM peaks. It'd be probably the PM peak that would be affected.
Scott, do you know offhand what the queues are?
Yeah, I mean, headed in the obviously at the driveway, you know, there's hardly any queue that shows up with the analysis. But you know, there is like 500 or so cars headed south on Main Street there in the evening. So that's a pretty big volume.
What would you propose, Bill, to sign or stripe that to prohibit the left turn?
Yeah, I think really we would just have the signage that would be installed as part of the project. They'd have to install a no left turn sign. So we would just restrict that one movement. I mean, we've done it in other locations, so I mean, I don't think that's a big issue personally, but
Yeah, because if there is a queue on Main Street that's queuing past the driveway, somebody basically has to sit there and wait if they're going to try and take a left in. So I definitely see Bill's point there.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we can't control what the town is going to do in the right of way. So if it became if that sign doesn't work, Bill, you could extend the line and then make us do right turn only if that has to happen. Right?
Yeah, that's definitely the easiest.
That's a very valid point.
Yeah.
We would like to see if we can make that left-hand turn out work. If it becomes problematic that you need to extend the yellow line, then that's it. You can't cross the yellow line.
okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe we can work some type of condition up, Ryan, so that's clear.
I like that. I think that's good.
Does that work for you? So I say we install the left turn restriction, and so we recommend that the left turn restriction in, and then we'll do, you know, if we have to change the pattern, that we'll have the ability to do that.
Okay.
Project's all right with it. You know, some type of language in the decision that outlines that.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, the top, you know, you guys control the right of way, so you could do it anyways.
Right.
All right, any other comments from traffic advisory before I turn it over to public comment? Any public comment on this agenda item?
Lieutenant, just to be clear, so what the inclination of the TAC is, allow the left-hand turn out of our driveway.
Right.
No left-hand turn in, left-hand out could go away in the event that posting of no left turn in doesn't work well enough.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Scott, does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I think that, you know, with this plan, the way it's with the envision plan, you know, if you put some signage along the curb line, the bus isn't going to, there's a bus stop that's right there. The bus isn't going to be there all the time. So I think you get some visibility for that signage to prevent the left turn in.
Yeah, we can do a job, you know, educating our tenants too, that you
Yep.
can't do this. It's not allowed. It's a violation. You're going to get ticketed.
All right, Bill or Matt, one of you want to prepare a memo for this and outline those conditions? And Brian, unless you have anything else for us, I think we're good on our end.
Yes, thank you very much, Lieutenant, members of the committee.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 10, handicap parking space request. Received a request that was forwarded to the Disability Commission for a handicap space on 43 Crescent Street. Resident there has requested a space due to really no available handicap parking spaces in the area. Talked to town engineer Bill Renault about this location here. And not only could it benefit from a handicap space, but it's kind of it's a tough parking area as it is, and we would like to also paint some parking spaces there to kind of maximize the parking in that area and make it clear where the actual parking is. So, Bill, you have
Yeah. So I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So basically, we would make the handicap space the Mustang that's there, and stripe essentially to Lincoln Street. There are curb improvements that are planned as part of the Crescent Street 40B at this location. So you know, maybe we look at, I'm not sure if I did it as a developer contribution or if they're actually doing the work. I can't remember how I did it. So we can evaluate maybe even doing a similar bump out by the police station location too. But
yeah,
at this point, I'd say let's just stripe it and you know, evaluate it. But I think we might have the opportunity to gain some spaces here with the efficiencies of actually, you know, putting in the lines, the T's and the L's for the parking, and then we may be able to even get another one if we do the bump out to squeeze in at the corner. So
yeah, I agree. And I think on the corner by the police station, if we could at a bare minimum stripe that, so as to discourage parking by the intersection there, because it does happen, and it makes it difficult for emergency vehicles when they're rushing to a call to, you know, be able to see around that that corner there. So either a bump out or striping would be great, and I think that's good. Any Dan, Lois, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, the striping will definitely help out, and I believe they have a problem there with somebody's driveway. Somebody usually parks right in front of it, and they put out their own sign on the pole. I might show up in the picture here. And that'll take away from further down.
is it this one right here?
Yeah, I think somebody's got
Probably on this pole. Yep.
Yeah, do not park in front of my driveway.
Yeah, so all the more reason to stripe it, and kind of
It's a good look thing too.
All right, any comments or questions from traffic advisory members? We'll hear a motion to approve this handicap space as stated and stripe the parking spaces there.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
And
All right.
like all handicap spots, that's open to everybody, not just that particular person in that house.
Yep. And there are 2 residents in that area supposedly, so that'll help the 2 of them.
Excellent. All right. Item number 11, anything that wasn't anticipated for the agenda from traffic advisory members?
Can I just say one thing? It's
Yes.
good to see Chief Mike Sullivan there. I haven't seen him for a while, and it's good to see him back.
Thank you.
Lieutenant?
Yes,
Town,
sir.
Town Council has a meeting on July 10th,
Okay.
and I don't know, do they, the handicap parking space and the four-way stop, we could certainly get on that agenda if you got me the vote
Yep.
over.
I'm gonna
And the
say-
that left-hand turn restriction too.
Left hand
Yeah, on Main.
on the.
The Molise, the left-hand turn in.
All right, I mean, I don't think that's a rush for that. I mean, let's wait and see what happens.
Okay.
Let's try to out of the project. If you want to put that in, I wouldn't put it in now, frankly.
Okay.
Let's wait.
All right.
I will,
Sounds
I'll get a memo over to Sherry for the next town council meeting for July 10th. That's
Perfect.
excellent. That works good. Anything else?
My
All right.
favorite spot, Lieutenant, North Avenue and Richardson Ave, right where the bus turns. I think when they repainted the lines, they went right through the center line, continues on. They need to blacken that out.
What do you mean they went through the center line? Because I did see that they did what you asked to expand that.
Yeah,
opening.
but the line continues on past the stop mark.
Okay. All
It
right.
just needs to be blackened out with some black paint.
Gotcha. All right. I'll get with Joe Conway on that.
And that only because it's the bus route, the only bus route in Wakefield. And if one bus hangs up there, it goes right into the North Ave intersection with Albion Street.
All right. Fair enough. Anything else before I make a motion to adjourn at 10:03?
Very efficiently run meeting, Lieutenant. as
Nice
always.
efficient meeting.
I don't know if it was efficient or we were just lucky, but I'll take whatever it is, Steve. Whatever it is, I'll take it.
Combination of both, probably.
That's
Right?
right.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
thanks.
Have a good weekend, folks.
Take care.
And a
Hey, guys.
good Fourth.
4th of July,
Happy
Yeah.
4th.
Happy Fourth, folks.
Bye, guys.
get those lines painted. If you need any help, I can paint.
You go with a roller? Yeah.
No, I'm good with stars.
Bye, guys.